Have Liverpool already given up the title next season? Okay, that was a bit overdramatic. But today there is something I wondered. After hearing the news about Arne Slot being sacked, which on one hand I'm actually quite upset about because I'm a Manchester United fan. But on the other hand, if we look at it, or if I look at it objectively, he wasn't good enough. To spend that much money in one transfer window and then have those performances, somehow managed to get less out of Mo Salah. And of course, we can temper that with age and the rest of it. The guy was clearly out of his depth. When trying to just recreate what Klopp had, it seemed to work, which actually makes me think Klopp probably regrets not staying for one more season just to claim the second trophy. And to think that, a week ago, Chelsea signed Xabi Alonso. There is something wrong with the decision making currently at that club. You have a former midfielder who has played under Pep Guardiola, Jose Mourinho, played in the Bundesliga, managed the Bundesliga team, not being Bayern or Dortmund, won the league, went to Real Madrid. Now, Real Madrid is a bit of a difficult scenario, so you can understand how some managers have struggled there. For example, Tuchel was at PSG, then went on to win the Champions League with Chelsea. Emery was at PSG, then went on to win the Europa League with Aston Villa. So PSG don't tend to hire bums, but it is a difficult club to manage. And yes, there is a player who has been at that club at PSG and is now at Real Madrid. But when I look back at reports, Mbappe was actually running around a lot more than he did previously for any other manager for Xabi Alonso. So Alonso joins Chelsea, a club which is a bit of, from my perspective, a bit of a basket case. He has no ties to Chelsea, isn't a reported Chelsea fan, but yet Liverpool just sat on their hands, let him be hired, and then fired their manager who was so incompetent it wasn't even funny anymore. I say incompetent. That is reflective of this season, and my opinion that last season he was doing a lot of work on the back of Jurgen Klopp. Realistically, was he? Probably not. But that's the opinion. I've also noticed that even though one of the Chuckle brothers, Konate, is leaving on a free, I can remember when Liverpool were, same owners by the way, I can remember when Liverpool had Philip Coutinho and he sold him, what was it, 100 and something million? 104, 114 million? It was a lot of money. And they used that money to then turn around and buy Salah and Alisson, or Alisson and Van Dijk, which helped push their team on another level. So you've gone from a club which is really adept at selling players, and now we have a scenario where McAllister is spoken about in terms of leaving. Alisson apparently has strong interest with Juventus. Konate's gone on a free, but to be fair to them, that's not really going to hurt the team. But you wouldn't prefer to surely sell him to get money, right? Alexander-Arnold. Personally, I don't understand how he was a right back with the way I used to see him defend. However, would I say he was worth the 10 million that Real Madrid paid for him? Oh, definitely so. Definitely so. So how are Liverpool operating? We have now in a scenario where for the last couple of seasons, they have been not extracting, I suppose, the optimal value for the players they have. Andy Robertson again, he's gone on a free. So they're not getting in good amounts of money for players that they're selling. And it's hard, it's hard for me to say because again there is the bias of supporting a different club. But Robertson should be worth money. Konate should be worth money. Trent should be worth more than 10. So how are Liverpool now in this scenario where they have these players that they're selling for little, they're buying players in for a lot of money, and then they've got to try and keep it reasonably not personal. Then they have a manager who, from my perspective, seems out of his depth. Are we seeing the beginnings of a crisis? Or are Liverpool slowly turning into Manchester United circa 3 or 4 years into the Glazers had bought the club and Sir Alex had moved on from being the manager? What exactly is going on? Again, on one hand, great news. But on the other hand, it's just, I would like to beat Liverpool with Liverpool being a good team because it would just be worth more. A bit like Arsenal would have wanted to beat PSG because they're a good team. So you can say, we beat a good team, this can lift the confidence and maybe push players on to another level. But honestly, if they sacked Slot in, say, January, February, March, April, May, I think the Liverpool fans would all have been on board. And I think towards the end of the season, why they've waited post-season to have a review. In fact, I don't understand why they waited post-season to have a review. Surely a decision should have been made by the board. And if they wanted to wait to see if Slot got Champions League football, you could have done that. The day he got Champions League football was the day you could have said to him, you can go out there in the press conference and announce that you're leaving, so you can control the narrative. So at least you feel like, this isn't happening to you, but you're having a bit of an impact in it happening. And in the background, offer Chabi a contract for the next season. Say to him, say nothing. Hold this. Slot will fall on his own sword, and you can just do your thing. And instead, they somehow managed to let Chabi go and keep Slot, then get rid of Slot. In fact, I've seen quite a funny meme where you've got people with their head in their hands, and the caption, Alonso a week after signing for Chelsea watching Slot lose his job. Not great, is it? Not great. So with that in mind, what do we think Liverpool are going to do? Who are they going to hire? Is that manager going to be supported, or is this going to be an absolute cluster? I'm Wayne. I will get out of this dark, dingy dungeon. I'll catch you in the next one.